Oh man, I am exhausted. I just recently just came back from the Toronto Film Festival and now I'm just literally prepared to talk about one of my favorite movies that I've seen at the festival just a few days ago called No Other Choice, which is directed by Park Chan-wook and stars Lee Byung-hun from Squid Games. And I'm going to talk about this film lightly because I do not want to spoil the entire movie or put any, baggage in terms of how the story is with this film. But I will give some general criticism about what I liked about this film and what really works, while also, talking about the themes of the film without, again, spoiling it. But yeah, I want to really talk about this film because, to be frank, I think this probably is one of the best films that I've seen this year and probably will be the best film that I see this year, hands down. So let's kind of get started with this review for No Other Choice. So No Other Choice is basically a remake of a old film from 2005 directed by Costa Gavras, The Axe. But this adaptation of The Axe is a story about a businessman who is laid off from his job after 25 years of working at this logging paper company. And from there, from the beginning of the first 5 minutes, you, played by Lee Byung-hun, is going through a lot of changes in his life. In the first 5 minutes, it's established that his family is very happy. He has the perfect wife, the perfect son and daughter, the perfect two dogs, the perfect garden, and just other places that are in the house that feel like the white picket line family that we would usually see in, quote unquote society. Yu is laid off from his job after 25 years at the paper company, and in the first 3 months of his laid off status, he basically tries to find a job and he can't get a job no matter what any consequences and points that he tries to make with a lot of the people who is being interviewed by him. He can't really get the job. So 3 months in, he's very depressed, but also very open to kind of figuring out his career, but still wants to stay in the same position that he was at before. And then 6 months passes in 10-15 minutes of the film, and he realized that Yu can't find a job. He's working at a retail store, packaging just products. And from there, he just gets to the point where he gets super, and depressed in himself and just wants to really figure out what to do. So instead of continuing to find a job, he creates a fake ad in the newspaper and online to get all of the competitors who are trying to apply for the same position that he used to do, and basically kill them off one by one. And this is where the satirical black comedy aspect comes into the mix of the film, where basically you're following you going through each kill, trying to figure out how to kill the specific competitor, and then just also try to hide the body. And Park Chan-wook, his direction in this movie is way more vibrant, way more lively, and actually more accessible compared to his last film, Decision to Leave, which was kind of really locked in. You had to kind of figure out what was going on in the first 5 minutes of the film, and it takes a while to kind of boil up. Here, in the first 5 minutes, everything is just established, from the character motivations to all the characters, just the whole environment in the first 5 minutes of the film. And that's the most crucial thing that I really loved about this film, was that the way it just established everything in just the first 5 minutes. And if you've seen a Park Chan-wook film before, his direction is very stylistic, very full of swipes and edits. And here, if you've seen his works, the editing and the shot compositions and just the transitions from scene to scene is just pristine. There's a lot of great editing shots and compositions that feel very lively and just animated. There's also one shot that I keep on reeling into my brain, which deals with a shovel and then a bed turn from the wife, and it's just crossfaded with the shovel and the whole movement of the shovel digging a hole. And then there's also a really great shot where you and another character are drinking beer, and you see the camera go inside of like the beer, and you can see like the characters drinking the beer like inside of a glass, and it's just a lot of like interesting like shot compositions. And I'm gonna say right now, I think Lee Byung-hun, his performance in this film is probably one of my favorite like best actor performances that I've seen this year, and especially at the festival, because he plays a lot of like sides to his character. There's a lot of depth and just a lot of like 3D dimensions that you can kind of like try to figure out, especially in the beginning where you see him kind of be like the more strict and a kind of sort of repressed dictator character who knows everything. He knows everything about his job, he knows his position, he knows what to do. But then once he gets laid off, everything just like falls off and falls apart, and he just becomes like repressed, depressed, and just like frenetic. And once he starts to, you know, go with the plan of trying to kill his competitors, you see him kind of like flailing a little bit as far as like trying to like get the first kill going, because basically like the first 2 acts of this film is a dragged out first kill of a guy who is an alcoholic and also can't get a job. All of the subjects that Yu tries to kill are people who've been laid off and who have kind of like moved on from the position they used to be in, especially the one that he kills the first time around, which is not really a spoiler. This is actually just, you know, communicated in the film, but the first kill with him being trying to like figure out what to do with the environment and just trying to like figure out how to, you know, clean the body quickly. But other than that, like his performance in this film, Lee Byung-hun, is just absolutely incredible. And again, like you feel a lot of his pain and just like his just remorse from just everything that's happening around him. And the wife also as well, who is played by, I believe, young Ye-jin. She has a lot to do, and her story arc, way past the second act of the film, gets really emotional, but also at the same time, it's another like aspect of the film where you're seeing a lot of the men who are trying to figure out what to do next with their lives and trying to like succumb from all of the, you know, damage and like pain of losing their job. But the women in this film also go through a lot, especially Yu's wife, Lee, played by Sun Ye-jin. She's trying to like figure out what to do, and there's a moment in the beginning of the film where they're about to kind of like freak out about like finances, so they decide to like create a plan to, you know, minimize all their expenses, and that includes also, you know, cutting the Netflix subscription, you know, selling off the house, minimizing the car and kind of like compacting it into, you know, a smaller car, just stuff like that. And it's a really interesting perspective when you kind of like take more of like the women's perspectives of in this film. And then just like in general, I think Park Chan-wook, his direction in this film is very, again, vibrant and just really lived in. You really feel a lot of the emotions from like all the characters, and there are a lot of like funny moments in this film, especially when the dragging of like the first kill happens. Something happens and there's an argument that overlaps between a jazz score and just 2 people arguing. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's an amazing scene. And just other scenes in general with one of the characters who is trying to figure out what to do with their lives after they get laid off. And it's a whole thing where he's trying to figure out the job interview on the phone, and it's actually you behind the phone trying to like, you know, play with them. But yeah, overall, I feel like this film is just fantastic. All the performances are great. The direction is just immaculate, god tier like direction. I don't have like any problems with this film. It does not drag for like the nearly like 2.5 hour runtime. And just again, I just was really like riveted and just like fully immersed by what Park Chan-wook was trying to do with this film. Again, like the themes really kind of like goes deeper into the idea of the workplace right now, especially with AI and technology and like how everything is advancing, but you know, the idea of applying for a job where, you know, AI can detect a lot of the job sectors and try to, you know, penetrate just stuff that humans can do it's just a really interesting, you know, take on just like the whole environment, the workplace environment. And Wook expertly tries to put all that like into the film, and it's not messy or just like there just to, you know, piss people off. It's very fully cited, as I should say. But yeah, this is just one of the best films of the year. Probably one of my favorites of the year. I don't think anything else will top this film. Maybe After the Hunt, because I'm a big Luca Guadagnino fan, but we'll get there probably soon. But for now, I think this film is just fantastic. I give it like a 5 out of 5. Like, this is my #1 film of the year so far. As for awards prospects, I am extremely confident in this film getting the Best Picture, Best Director, and Best International Feature nomination. I think it's time for Park Chan-wook to finally get his due. He's been snubbed multiple times, dating way back from like Old Boy up to Decision to Leave, and this is his most accessible film that I've seen from him. It's very easy to swallow. Sure, like the violence is very gruesome, but even if you take that out, the whole like themes of just what we're living in right now and just like the whole idea of capitalism taking over humans and just kind of like destroying the sanctity of our lives is going to play a lot with the Oscars this year, especially with a lot of stuff that's been happening in real life. But I do think this film has a really great chance of gaining those nominations, and maybe Lee Byung-hun might be the surprise Best Actor nominee. I highly doubt it, but I have another person in mind that could actually, take that nomination away from him, and I think it could be Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent, but again, we'll see. Neon has this. They have a lot of stuff. I think Neon would be foolish to kind of put this more up front next to The Secret Agent, and then obviously the #1 Sentimental Value, but I think Sentimental Value, the reviews for the movie has been like glorious. Same with No Other Choice, but it really just depends on like what Neon is trying to do. What are they going to do, I should say. But yeah, again, I think this is just incredible filmmaking, like truly incredible filmmaking. And when you see this at the fall festivals or just like in theaters this Christmas, go with an open mind, and if you really like Park Chan-wook's filmography, you will not be disappointed by this. Again, I give this a 5 out of 5. Stick around for, more reviews coming out of my TIFF experience, and I will be posting more on the channel, so, keep an eye on that, and eventually I'll get back to the awards predictions, but for now, I'm just going to stick to the movie reviews that are more important right now. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Take care. Peace out.